What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Paranormal Mind podcast. I am Shane.
I'm Josh.
I'm Ray.
We don't have to do the intro every time.
I know, but
we want to make maybe. We want to make sure that they get the names marinated in them.
Ooh, marinated.
The deepest part of their souls.
Ooh.
Y'all are weird.
The marination station.
Oh God. So if you want dad jokes, just listen to Josh. Maybe he'll have a podcast on the Searchers Network later on, just of dad jokes. Him playing with our podcast equipment.
That is the thing. Yeah, we're doing the Paranormal Mind podcast, but hopefully, we'll get some other people doing some podcasts up under the Searchers podcast stuff as well.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that it's,
fun,
entertaining to y'all.
And entertaining.
Absolutely. Doesn't have to be all structured because God knows we're not the most structured.
Listen, we're just hanging on by a thread here.
Yeah, we're just hanging out. It's us. Y'all, we're just giving you a glimpse, I guess, of it. And we're trying to keep Ray awake because he looks like he wants to go to sleep right now.
Absolutely, he's good. I mean, he's 2 beers in, man.
Don't worry.
You're good.
Don't worry about me.
Don't worry about me.
Don't be worried about me.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into this, okay? So this podcast, it's a really perplexing case, and whenever I was doing some research on it, it makes you wonder, there's a lot of different scenarios that it could be, all right? So on Christmas Eve 1945, a fire broke out in the Sodder family home in Fayetteville, West Virginia. Again, West Virginia, all right? Seems like a lot of stuff's going on there.
What's your fascination with?
Yeah, what you like about out there?
Yeah.
It's just all of the really strange cases and stuff that I was researching is from there.
Creepy shit in West Virginia.
No, I did not. No, I did not. Anyway,
we gotta have a podcast material.
Guys,
creepy shit in West Virginia.
Go ahead.
Anyway, so despite the frantic efforts of the parents and some of the children, 5 of the Sodder children were never seen again. So in this podcast, we're going to be doing a deep dive on the vanishing of the Sodder children and see if we can get to the bottom of what's going on, even though they never have, which I don't know how we're going to do that, but we're going to try anyway, or we're going to talk about it for people who have never heard of this story.
Hey, I love a good true crime case.
True crime, maybe paranormal, maybe UFOs. Who knows? Will you take the lead then, Josh?
No, I'm good. Just so
as long as you have a don't like one of those.
One of those. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm a child.
Yeah, you are. Good God Almighty. All right. So again, like I said, in Christmas 1945, a fire broke out at the Sodder residence in Fayetteville, West Virginia. The home was occupied by George Sodder and his wife Jenny, and 9 of their 10 children at the time. 10 damn children. I've got 4, and it's a handful already. And Ray's got 5. And Josh has 10 dogs.
4, thank you.
4 dogs.
Forever
2
kids.
nieces.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Y'all got any nieces and nephews? Bring them my way. I'm the...
All right, so George, Jenny, and 4 of the 9 children were able to escape the fire, but the bodies of the other 5 children were never found. The tragedy had a lasting impact on the surviving Sodder family, who believed for the rest of their lives that the 5 missing children had survived.
Why would they think that?
I'm getting to that. All right. So the Sodders never rebuilt the house and instead turned the site into a memorial garden to honor the lost children. In the 1950s, as they began to doubt that the children had perished, the family put up a billboard at the site with pictures of the 5 missing children, offering a reward for information that would bring closure to the case. In support of their belief that the children survived, the Sodders pointed to a number of unusual circumstances before and during the fire. George disputed the fire department's finding that the blaze was electrical in origin, noting that he had recently had the house rewired and inspected. He and his wife suspected arson, leading to theories that the children had been taken by the Sicilian mafia.
Wow.
Perhaps in retaliation perhaps in retaliation for George's outspoken criticism of the fascist government of his native Italy. So they speculated that there was some mafia involved in all of this stuff, and that's why the children were never found.
Interesting.
So despite state and federal efforts to investigate the case in the early 1950s, no new information was uncovered. However, the family did receive what may have been a picture of one of the boys as an adult during the 1960s. The last surviving daughter and their grandchildren continued to publicize the case in the media and online in the 21st century, keeping the story alive and hoping for answers. All right, so
we're gonna plug BJ's Billiards right now.
yeah, let's go ahead and plug it.
Bad shot.
And for the last 2 episodes, we've been talking about the background noise a little bit, and you're going to be hearing that because we are doing our podcast from a bar.
The best
That's
place
right.
to have one.
Right. So there's pool tables. It's a really cool atmosphere here. If you're ever in Macon, come to BJ's Billiards. It's a really cool place. The owner is fantastic, really awesome. So check it out, and that's our little plug for them. We really appreciate them letting us use their space.
Yeah, it's been great.
Because, we don't have our own studio.
No.
Yet.
So,
Yet.
Josh
It's-
hasn't bought one yet. We're just waiting on Josh to buy it.
Yeah, I've been wondering
The
about that. It's like,
financier.
yeah, it's like Josh will spend a healthy
A
amount,
shit ton.
yes, on our endeavors, which I really appreciate him because with that we
There's Macon, Georgia.
yeah, there's Macon. I really appreciate that because he puts his all into making our end product the best that it could be. So, are there little clappy?
Yeah. Give
So-
yourself
yeah.
a round of applause.
There you go. There
Thank you, Josh's money.
you go. Yeah. Yeah, but got to give a shout out to Josh for trying to go all in on the stuff that we're trying to do. So anyway,
He buys all this stuff, but then won't buy himself clothes.
that's right. That's right. He's doing the podcast naked right now. so-
Naked as a J. So
Oh,
subscribe to
so-
Patreon so
yeah.
you can see that.
Well, no. So there's
Only for the Patreon.
so there's a Josh OnlyFans, and then
Oh,
there's
yeah.
Patreon.
Yeah.
Listen, I've already signed up for Feet Finder too. You guys.
Dude,
come
we've
see
seen those feet. They aren't making any money.
No.
Yeah.
So real
Hey,
quick
man.
before we
Different
jump,
strokes for
hold
different
on.
folks.
So
Man.
we're doing a little commercial real quick before we jump into the night of the fire and the Sodder family and the children. We've got to talk about this for a minute. All right.
God.
So we were traveling to go do an event in Louisiana, right? And out of all of the places, all of the Airbnbs that we could get, we go to this quaint little town called
Quaint.
called
No, we're not-
this
no.
quaint town called Anacoco.
It's called Woods. There's just woods.
Right. It's in the middle of nowhere. There's not even a Dollar General in 45-mile radius.
Yeah, it was a trailer park.
Right. So now the advertisement
Sugarcoat it for us.
the advertisement for this place that we were going to, the pictures and everything was amazing. They're like
What they say?
in-ground pool, which
Jacuzzi.
which was really an
above ground
pool with a deck. Yeah. So it was not an indoor or an in-ground pool at all. We get there and there's cameras everywhere outside. Y'all remember that? And
Yeah.
signs like camera in use and all of this stuff. and
me.
and before we even walk into this location that we're going to stay in and spend the night so we can do the event the next day and all this stuff, there were a line of batteries. Y'all remember that? A line of batteries outside of this shed, like underneath the little carport area.
All the murdered.
Right. Yeah. So we were wondering, like,
This was pre-Barbarian too, for anyone who's seen the movie
Oh
Barbarian.
man, so good.
so we were wondering, okay, are those to like to a generator to like some dungeon somewhere that they're keeping people alive, or is it a generator to run all of their cameras? Like, I don't know what the deal was. But anyway, Anacoco was horrible. But fast forward a little bit.
But
Yeah.
The lady was lovely, and she cooked me a lovely breakfast the next morning while y'all slept in.
Wait, hold on a minute. What did she cook?
She had like eggs and bacon and everything down there by the in-ground
And you
pool.
didn't bring us any, dude?
Fuck no. Y'all slept in. I didn't. I went down there.
You
I
never
met
sleep
her.
in, dude. You wake up at like 2 in the
I met
morning.
her.
What do you want from us?
She made me breakfast. I ate the shit out of it, and I just never told y'all.
Oh,
Because-
thanks a lot. Now you did.
Yeah.
So thanks for that. Oh my God.
I thought you broke something.
Okay. Anyway, God, these sound effects are like
I love it.
funny. So we get into the place and we're picking our rooms, right? There's 3 rooms, so we're like, this is awesome. And of course, Josh gets the
Master,
biggest room
yeah.
with mirrors everywhere.
He's already like taking off his shoes and socks and
Yeah.
everything.
Welcome
Yeah,
home.
he's lounging and like me and Ray are looking. It's like, okay, is there a possibility of bed bugs here? Like we need to check this out before. And Josh, on the other hand, just plops down, like takes off his shoes and plops on the bed without even inspecting it,
He's
and
got
just
COVID toes
chills.
at the time too.
Yeah.
yeah. That's what
This
I'm
was
getting
like
to.
in the height of COVID, like when it was first coming out.
Right. So we pick our rooms. My room, there was a deer head mounted on the wall, and the room was so small that it was like going over like half of the bed, like peering over the half of the bed. So we took the deer head down and put it in the living room just so I could sleep and feel like halfway comfortable. And but anyway, so Josh was barefoot. And it was the grossest shit that I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, my feet were kind of jacked up then.
What was it? I don't, Ray, honestly, like, can you explain? Like, what the hell was that? Honestly.
It was COVID toes, man. He had like a rash on the top of his foot that he was like unbearably itching,
And he was scraping it all across the carpet, which was even worse. Like
The walk I was doing, because I was like flipping my feet over.
He was spreading his COVID whatever all over the place.
it was
So-
a fungus.
So it was weird, and he was. I mean,
That's
yeah,
how The Last of Us started.
Yeah,
but that is a trip.
it's probably from taking his shoes off at Airbnb.
Exactly.
Because I sleep above the sheets at all the Airbnbs.
That is true. That
You know
is
what, though,
absolutely
guys?
true.
That was a really good trip.
It was.
It was our first time being at the Gothic Jail.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. It's a trip that we talk about years later. So I mean,
It's all
I guess
about the memories.
Yeah.
it's got to account for something. I guess.
That's the best part about Airbnbs is like we never know what we're gonna get.
Yeah.
True. But jumping back into the vanishing children of the Sodder family. So the night of the fire, right? So George and Jenny Sodder, like I said, along with the 4 of the 9 children, survived the fire, and the remaining 5 were never found. The Sodders refused to build the house, instead creating a memorial, like I talked about, a memorial garden to honor the children. They believe the missing children have survived. So before and during the fire, the Sodders noticed several unusual circumstances leading to believe that the children had not perished. George disputed the Fayetteville Fire Department's finding that the blaze was electrical. Again, like I said, he said it was rewired and inspected. And they suspected arson, all that good stuff. So after the
All
fire,
that good stuff.
after the fire was extinguished, the state fire marshal's office investigated the scene. And after 4 days with no news, George bulldozed the site and covered it with 5 feet of dirt to create a memorial garden for his lost children. Now, my question is why would you bulldoze everything?
4 days?
I know, you know, it's a fire. It was probably destroyed. But why after 4 days, like, especially with 5 of your children missing?
Still missing.
Right.
Yeah.
Why would you just go and bulldoze it and then put 5 feet of dirt on top of it?
It was him.
Why would you do? Yeah, but he's got what? 5 other children? 4 other children?
He just didn't like those 5.
I mean, it's strange to me why you would, like, if something, God forbid, happened like that in my life, I would not be bulldozing shit until I knew for certain
Until you found a body.
any piece of evidence was collected from that site.
Exactly.
You know, I wouldn't do anything
person.
else. I would not do anything else. It's the strangest thing why he would do that. So the local coroner conducted an inquest and concluded that the fire was caused by faulty wiring, but George was not satisfied with this explanation. So at the same time, the father was still saying, look, this is not a good explanation. I want to know more. So he was digging into it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
There's a lot of inconsistencies here. So death certificates for the missing children were issued on December 30th. But the local newspaper contradicted itself, reporting that all of the bodies were found and then saying only part of one was found. George and Jenny were too heartbroken to attend the funeral for their children on January 2nd, 1946, but their surviving children did. So the surviving children went to the funeral, but the parents didn't show up. Again, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I know if you're heartbroken, that's one thing, but why would you have your kids go?
Yeah,
and not be their support system in some capacity. I've been saying capacity a lot, but anyway, But yeah, why would you not be there to support your kids?
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
9 kids.
Stop, Josh. I know where you're going with this. Look, 9 kids or not, it's not
after you
reason
have
enough.
After you have like 3, it's all the same.
You know
it's
what,
all
though?
the same.
You know what?
Oh God, here we go.
I want to give a shout out to the parents because there's no way
That you would live with 10 kids or 9 kids?
No, there's no way. There's no way.
At some point, they take care of themselves.
Yeah, once they're
Except for yours.
not mine. Good Lord, they're going to be 40 and still asking for assistance to wipe. Anyway, all right. So after the fire destroyed the Sodder family home, 5 of the children were presumed dead. But as evidence emerged suggesting that the fire was set deliberately, the family began to suspect that the children might still be alive. So there was some evidence that came into play here. Eyewitnesses claimed to have seen the missing Sodder children, and the family hired a private investigator to look into the case. Now, again, if you were guilty of it,
right.
If you were the father, why would you hire somebody to dig deeper?
True. That is true.
How old were the missing children?
You're gonna have to look. I don't look.
Got him again.
Look, I'm sourcing all the topics. Y'all can help out a little bit. Jamie, look this up now.
Yeah, look it up.
Jamie, pull this up on Google. All right.
Oh man, now we're gonna get sued by Joe Rogan.
Oh no, we're not. Come on, we're just playing around. Just playing around. So, like I said, they hired a private investigator, and then they uncovered some startling information, including the fact that the coroner's jury that ruled the fire an accident included an insurance salesman who had threatened George Sodder over his anti-Mussolini sentiments.
Here we go with the words.
Okay.
Mussolini.
They were 14, 12, 9, 8, and 5.
All the worst ages.
True.
Those are all the ages of my children, basically.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
No, so, all right. So since there was one that was 14, now you have to take into account maybe something was going on in the house nefarious in that 14-year-old, which was the oldest. It was a boy. He probably was like, yo, we got to get the fuck out of here.
No, that's true.
So let's burn this bitch down and roll out.
Oh, that's a good point.
True,
Yeah.
but
what if they called?
But you would think it would be what were the ages of the other children? Were they younger? Were they older?
You would think at some point too, the surviving kids that are still there would have, if there was something nefarious going on in the household, they would have spoken out by now. That is a good point.
Okay,
though.
so you had 2-year-old Sylvia was still there, 17-year-old Marion, 23-year-old John, and 16-year-old George Jr.
Yeah, so for the most part, they were older.
Right, so
they were older.
Yeah,
23.
You would think in situations
Skedaddle.
where
not a child anymore. Then,
but you would think in situations like that the older kids would have something to do with it. If there was something nefarious going on, they would be privy to it and do something.
Let's think about that.
Well,
for a
the
second.
thing is people that are abused,
Yeah.
they don't normally come out and say anything about it. Especially if you find out that some of your siblings got away from the abuse.
Yeah, maybe
I
trying
mean,
to
I'm not
protect
trying
them.
to say this is
Right.
by any means. I'm just
You know, it smells of abuse, though. To be honest,
It's possible. And despite the fire marshal's conclusion that the fire had started due to an electrical fire, witnesses claimed that it had actually started on the roof of the house, which is strange.
that is strange.
So, but the most bizarre discovery came from when the family dug up a metal box that Fire Chief F.J. Morris had secretly buried. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So Morris had claimed that the box contained the remains of a heart that he had found in the ashes of the Sodder home.
How does a heart survive?
Yeah. It's strange. But listen to this. This is when the family took the box to the local funeral director, and it was discovered that it actually contained fresh beef liver that had never been exposed to fire.
So he just got beef liver and buried it in
Why though?
the remains? Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Why? Why bury it in a metal box?
Wild and wonderful.
West Virginia.
I mean, you're
Yeah.
at some point, right? There's so many wild pieces to this story that, like,
This is just regular ass West Virginia.
yeah, that you're just like, oh, well, I mean, there's no explanation.
Yeah. So George Sodder thought he saw his daughter Betty in a magazine photo and drove all the way to her school to see her, but was refused. He tried to get the FBI involved, but they declined. And in 1949, George convinced a pathologist to search the dirt at the house site, and artifacts were found, including small bone fragments. They were confirmed to be human vertebrae and from the same person, estimated to be between 16 and 22 years old. Again, very strange. You said the oldest child was 14.
14, yeah.
Okay. So, but there were other bones found at the same site? Again, unless their investigation was inaccurate and it was actually the oldest.
Was this the same doctor that
Did
she died of childbirth?
Where's the baby?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, it's very odd.
Well, here's a theory, though.
What's that?
Maybe somebody burned the house down because there were murders taking place there previous to this. Maybe one of the kids did it. So maybe the kids are actually alive and fled.
But the oldest kid was 14. Are you claiming?
No, I'm saying it's not the kids. The kids are actually alive. Maybe there were murders happening there.
But where did the kids go? Unless it was, I mean,
Well, it's a lot easier to disappear in 1945 than it is in
It's very true,
2023.
especially in West Virginia.
Yeah.
well, the family received letters and tips over the years, but none provided definitive answers. The surviving Sodder children continued to investigate and publicize the case, theorizing that the Sicilian Mafia may have been involved. The family hopes to learn what happened to their missing children, while some believe they likely died in the
I
fire.
just don't think the Sicilian Mafia gives two shits about one dude in
West Virginia?
BFE
Well,
West Virginia has to say.
And again, what you were talking about earlier, you're like, it's easier to disappear in the 40s, right? Could it be that they botched the investigation and
Absolutely.
could it be that they were really burned, unfortunately, in the fire?
Yeah, they could have been.
Could have
You know?
been, but why haven't they found their body?
And these are the kids too. It's really sad.
And they look
Right there.
Italian as shit.
They do look
They all look
very
Italian.
Italian.
Yeah.
Well, it's an Italian family.
I know,
What do
I'm
you
just
expect?
saying, like, now that you see them, it's like, yeah, they all look like,
From Italy.
they look like they're
Oh
Italian.
my God, these Italian people look really Italian.
They
Amore.
make a mean calzone.
But you know, whenever I listen to some of these stories and these cases and stuff, I always try to put myself in the family at the time, their shoes, and I was like, what would I do if my children were missing after we had a house fire? I know for damn sure I would not bulldoze my house only after 4 days.
That's what makes me think he was hiding something.
Right,
Like,
exactly. It leads me to believe that there was something that he didn't want discovered.
And maybe that's what started the house fire, is that the kids knew what he was doing.
That's what I'm getting to.
And they were hoping, hey, we'll start this fire. We'll disappear for a little while.
Right.
They'll find out that Dad's a fucking hitman for
what
the
if he's
Sicilian mafia.
hitman or a serial killer? I mean,
and then we can come out of hiding. And then when it never happened, they just said, well, look, they haven't found us yet, so we'll just kind of lay low. They could have went to Canada. I mean, it's not like
that
Canada's
would explain
away.
a little bit of the.
This is like
the father's
right after World War II. So like the country is kind of like not paying attention to 5 kids from.
That's true.
West Virginia.
Again, in West Virginia.
How they escaped from the fire too was weird. Like George and his 2 older sons rushed to get a ladder to prop against the home so that the other children could escape. However, the ladder, which was always kept nearby, was mysteriously nowhere to be found.
Because the kids.
Yeah, but again, that's maybe children back in the day, use their brains a little bit more. I don't know, but like modern day,
they probably spent weeks, months planning this.
Say their father is a bloodthirsty killer, right?
The oldest
Stone
was
cold.
14 though, man.
Yeah, but
and they had to see this stuff happen in their own home.
A 14-year-old in 1945 and a 14-year-old in 2000.
Right, for sure. Yeah.
Hey, you got to think, a 14-year-old in 1945 had just seen World War II.
In West Virginia, they ain't got power. They ain't got.
Well, again, other details with this case. So the father, he was desperate to save his children, of course. He attempted to back up a truck to the house, but inexplicably, neither truck on the property would start. To me, it looks like a mafia type situation.
Yeah, but what?
Like it's sabotage.
Okay, that's fine, but
that means he has to be involved in it way more than what he says he is.
Yeah, what does this do? What is George Sodder and the Sicilian Mafia like? I can sit here right now and bash the Russian Mafia or bash whoever. They're not going to come for me.
Mark me.
Yeah. Just because I said some mean things about him. What made him so important that the Sicilian Mafia was like, we got to go off this guy and his whole family now?
Well, he was very outspoken, but again, you got to you got to consider the times though. You got to just like today, word probably spread in a different way back then as it does today. Like our information's more widespread now, but maybe the connections and the communications that went that George had communication with was.
Yeah, who's he telling in this little small town in West Virginia that it's getting all the way back to the Sicilian Mafia? And they're like, we got to go stop this guy from being mean to us.
He's being mean.
But here's another thing that doesn't make sense. If it is a mafia type situation, why not
just kill him?
Well, but then you think about what's the worst thing you can do to somebody besides taking their life is taking the lives of people that they love.
Care about.
Yeah, but I feel like shooting all the kids in the head with a gun while they're sleeping is a lot more effective than starting a fire and hoping nobody gets out.
But what's more devastating to you, seeing that they perished, or not knowing where the hell they are, or if they perished at all? So you think wondering.
So you think the Sicilian Mafia snuck into a random house in a little town in West Virginia and quietly kidnapped 5 children with nobody hearing any yelling, screaming, or
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to wake a child up? Have you ever tried to move a child in the middle of the night?
Yeah, and they don't wake up. So it's easy to move them if you have help.
5
now,
of them,
because they're exhausted from spending all day on YouTube.
No, I'm just saying, a
14-year-old now, a 14-year-old. Come on, man.
Well, if you have 2 guys, 2 grown men.
Yeah, but you'd still hear some sort of. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I would say that the most devastating thing to me, if it happened to me personally, it would be devastating.
Yeah, but even if they kidnapped him, what did they keep him for the last?
Sell him. sell them for whatever. I mean, there's weird stuff that happens in the world. Like they could have sold them for whatever, or could have killed them later, and then
child trafficking is a thing.
Yeah. Or they could have killed them and just put them somewhere where they just completely disappeared. Nobody would ever find them again, But it's just, it's really, really strange case that I wanted to talk about today. And, for everybody out there that's listening, again, that's what's cool about this podcast is, we call it the Paranormal Mind, but we talk about everything, true crime related, anything strange and unusual, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
And
you can tell us how wrong we are.
Yeah. Maybe information on it. That'd be great.
And I think it'd be really cool. Like if you have information or if you want to dig deeper and communicate with us online and stuff on social media, it's all a learning thing. We're shooting the shit right now, but it's really cool to hear additional feedback. So we welcome that. Or if we get facts wrong on the podcast, feel free to set us straight. I mean, we're all in this together. That's what it's all about. But that, I think, wraps up this episode. But before we do that, just real quick, final thoughts, just in a couple of sentences.
Okay.
Do you think it was the mafia, or do you have another theory on it?
I think it was a collective effort from the children to get away.
It's a good theory, and one that I was hanging on to for a little bit. I am gearing it more to maybe being the mafia, but I also think that the father is more involved with that than what we would have thought, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the mafia too, honestly, because how can 4 kids, was it 4 or 5 kids? How can they collaborate together? 14 all the way down to 2 years old?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know how much they can actually plan that out. But anyway, that's our thoughts. Thank you so much for listening to The Paranormal Mind, for watching, for all of our patron members. And until the next one, we'll talk to you later.